let's talk about F1 and Miami. So, besides the obvious, because we're not going to get into who's going to win the race. So,
You're trying to
Verstappen,
spend your time there.
Verstappen is minus 600. And
Wow.
so, yeah, this I get really bad. So, let's try to find one of those drivers like from a few weeks ago. So, let's take a look at top 10. So, let's see what we got here. All right, give us a
Before
good
you,
one, top
before
10.
you go to the top 10, go back to the winners. I'll give you two for if Verstappen, like if you're taking the strategy that we talked about at the beginning of the season, where you take somebody other than Verstappen every single week for the one or two times that he doesn't win, this week you're going to want to go with Sergio Perez or Carlos Sainz. Those two drivers have average finishes of third and fourth at this track. Granted, it's only been two races. Max Verstappen has won both of them. They also have average starting spots of 2.5 for both of them. Both of them have been consistently on the podium so far this season. So I think you're looking at number two and three finishers right there behind Verstappen. And if anything happens to Verstappen, I would probably put Perez or Sainz up there on the top step of the podium.
11 to 1 and 18 to 1 to win. Let's take a look at what the podium finish is. So we have Perez. Well, Perez is minus 350.
There you go. You're taking Carlos Sainz on your podium there at a plus, 135. Not bad. He's been faster than Leclerc. Typically, probably in any other season, you might take Leclerc because he's been historically the faster of the two Ferrari drivers. But at this particular track, Sainz has been better. And this particular season, Sainz has also been better. So he's your guy.
Okay. Then let's see what we've got here. Top 10. And let's see. We're going to go all the way down here. Okay. So this is where because obviously we're not going to do, I mean, why would anybody,
Wow, that's tough.
yeah, why would anybody do any of these numbers when I could just go with Verstappen then to win?
Yeah, I don't see any bargain in there. Not even Hulkenberg. I mean, Hulkenberg is probably your best bet of the bunch because he's been the better of the Haas drivers so far this season. Haas has had a couple of pretty decent finishes. They've shown a lot of speed. It's about them being able to be mistake free and make it all the way through to the finish. So certainly of that bunch, the plus 175 would go with Nico Hulkenberg. But for the roughly the same odds, you could go with Carlos Sainz as a podium. Or you can swing for the fences and take Sainz and potentially even Perez for the win and come out ahead more than you would going with Hulkenberg on the top 10. I don't see any deals there.
All right, winner without.
So this is winner without Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Aston Martin. So that takes all of your major drivers out. So again, you'd probably want to be looking at somebody like a Nico Hulkenberg. Daniel Ricciardo might come to mind, except for the fact that he and his team have been absolutely terrible so far this season. Alex Albon last season probably would have taken him because that Williams was pretty fast, and they just haven't really figured it out yet this season. So, probably Hulkenberg. Maybe a Magnussen, but certainly if you're not going to go with Hulkenberg there, maybe a Valtteri Bottas would be your choice there. But top choice again, Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah, and again, just taking a quick look here at the top tens, and what else? Yeah, I guess that's it. What's sprint winning car?
That would be on the sprint race. So which team is going to win
Is this manufacturer?
Yep, manufacturer. So again, very similar to the race. You're going to take a Verstappen or a Perez when you're looking at that one.
Okay. And overall, do we have anything else? Like, what's the news this week in F1?
Big news this week in Formula One may be a foreboding sign for Max Verstappen's future with Red Bull Racing. So, Adrian Newey, the chief designer at Red Bull, I think he's been with the team well over 10 years at this point. He is the best car designer in the sport. He is actually leaving the team. I think they just announced it today. We don't know exactly where he's going. If he stays in Formula One, the money would be on him going to Ferrari. But he's going to be at select races this season for the remainder of the season to give advice and feedback on the car. But he's not, long story short, I mean, he's not going to be doing too much to build Red Bulls and design Red Bull's car for next season and the future rules changes that are coming about. So I wonder if Max Verstappen, with the Christian Horner saga that we've talked about, as well as the genius brain behind the Red Bull car itself that has made it such a dominant force. I wonder if that is signaling Max Verstappen's potential exit. Rumor suggests he could potentially wind up at Audi when Audi takes over Sauber. So that would be interesting. Audi coming in as a manufacturer might be able to step up the game there. That might be a seat that Verstappen might want to go to if for whatever reason he doesn't want to stick with Red Bull with them losing. If Horner sticks around, if you pay attention to the tabloids and Newey leaves, I think the writing's on the wall that Verstappen would want to leave. Audi is probably the best place where he could wind up at this point, because I doubt he's going to go over anywhere else to partner anybody, to be honest with you. So, watch this space. Adrian Newey is a big loss to Red Bull. It won't really affect them this season. It'll start to show its signs of him leaving in the next seasons as those new cars don't have him as involved. But I think that's a signal certainly for Max Verstappen's potential future. And he is the one that is holding up this driver market. So I think at some point in the summer, when Verstappen signals where he's going to go, that's going to start the dominoes falling. And if you remember from last season to this season, we've had absolutely zero driver changes and team changes. So I think we may be in store for quite a bit next season.
I mean, it just seems to me that they're so dominant. They're winning 90% of the races, 95% of the races. Why wouldn't you keep? Is this just this guy is just bored and wants to go somewhere else, or is it? No, I mean nobody's playing hardball, are they? I mean, is it just I need a new change? I mean, we're too dominant here. I mean, what else am I going to do? Let me go somewhere else and pick up their organization, and to give me a challenge. Is that all that is?
Pretty much with Adrian Newey, yeah, he's spent a long time designing the Mercedes or the McLaren cars before when they had their dominance. He's been around the sport for a long time. He's been with several different teams, and pretty much every single one that he's been with, he designed what ultimately ended up being the series' dominant car. And he did it again here at Red Bull. In fact, I was very surprised when last time he left, Formula One. I was very surprised that he came back, because he wanted to do a completely new challenge. He was talking about the America's Cup yachts. He was talking about developing, the road cars. He's still going to be working on the Red Bull road car, the concept car that's going to be at the Goodwood Festival here in the next couple of months. So he's got a lot of focus and ties into that. But yeah, with Adrian Newey, he's the kind of guy that wants to go to a new challenge. It wouldn't surprise me if he went and did something completely different, some other kind of racing, like, I don't know, MotoGP or maybe America's Cup or something like that. He likes to use his brain. He likes new challenges. And I think the domination here has been, okay, I've had my fill. We're here again. Time to try something new.
And that wouldn't necessarily mean that Max Verstappen would go to the same place, does it?
No, I don't think so, because Newey would be going. Odds are he would go to Ferrari. Newey would.
Okay.
If he were to stay in Formula One, and those seats are already filled. You got Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
So no way Verstappen could even get in there. So I think at that point, depending on who wins the tug of war within the Red Bull camp, whether Christian Horner stays or goes, that probably is going to be part of or a determinant of whether he stays. But I think similar for Newey, Verstappen's been dominant now for several seasons. Why not go and see if you can do it at another team with a new manufacturer that's coming in with deep pockets and really intent on having success as well. So it's going to be interesting to play out. I do think with the Christian Horner saga and with Adrian Newey leaving, I'd be hard pressed to see Adrian Newey stay in Formula One, if not take a couple of years out. So again, I think that just kind of forewarns us that Verstappen's likely going to be looking for greener pastures.
Hey, I hope. Look, good for him. But for the sake of the sport, I hope he decides to stay away from the sport for a few years because he's too good. So we don't need him. We don't need him designing another car that can't be beat. So that's good for him. But I don't think it's. Even though I know there are a lot of fans out there that, well, it's sort of like the soccer fans. Well, it's not about how many goals you score. There's a lot more to it, and I get it. We all get it. We totally understand it. But those sports are not very popular in America. So, coincidence? No.
Yeah, Formula One needs some competition in order to keep this country's attention. They have 3 races now in North America, which is great for them. But man, the on-track action's got to be more exciting.
It does. I mean, has there and I know there's always been runs like this, but can you tell me, before we close out here, can you tell me, like, when was the last time that you really didn't know if there would at least be one of 5 drivers that could win on any week?
Oh my gosh, 5 drivers, if you put it at that.
Is that never happened, or am I like we have to go back 40 years or something?
No, it's happened. I think probably the year that Jenson Button won the championship with Braun, that was a new team. It was a whole new series of regulations that came out, brand new cars, new concepts overall. So everything was basically new that season. But that's kind of how far back you go. But honestly, there's traditionally, outside of maybe the past 3 seasons, there maybe 2 seasons actually, there's always it seemed to always come down to 2 guys at the end of the season, and it's been Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, it's been Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen, it's been Fernando Alonso and pick your driver, but that competitiveness has been there almost every season, even in Hamilton's heyday. I mean, he still had Nico Rosberg to contend with, and Nico Rosberg ended up winning one of those championships too. So you never really knew. But right now, the last 2 seasons, it was a close battle 3 years ago between Verstappen and Hamilton to go down to the last race. But once Verstappen took that edge, the last 2 seasons, he's just run away with it. Absolutely run away with it.
Well, 2's better than 1, that's for sure. I mean, odds-wise, I guess it would put you probably each week at probably 250 for each driver, I guess, something like that, or minus 200. But I would say this: it'd probably be, I don't know, I'd almost think it would be worse in a way, because even though you're risking more money, you have a much better chance that he's going to win.
Losing.
Yeah. Whereas the other chance, you're like, well, it could go either way.
Right.
And now I'm risking, minus 200 each week. That could go either way. So, yeah. I could see it actually being more profitable now, as crazy as it sounds. Okay, anyway, that's going to wrap it up. When's the next F1 race?
Next F1 race will be 2 weeks after Miami. We go back to Imola, May, 17th or thereabouts.
Okay.